we've got two telescopes that are refractors on tripods. Now, one's likely going to be better than the other, and that's the aim of this video really, is to try and find out which is the best £120 euro telescope that's not a Dobsonian, little tabletop Dobsonian, that you can get for your money out of a Celestron or a Sky-Watcher. So we've got the Celestron Astromaster LT70AZ. Astromaster is the range, LT just stands for long focal length telescope. 70 is the aperture of the objective lens. The objective lens is the light gathering lens at the front. AZ stands for the mount, which is out azimuth, so that's the type of mount. The Sky-Watcher is a Mercury 707, so again it's another 70mm refractor, and it's an AZ as well, so it's on an AZ mount. So these are both on the same types of mount. They've both got the same aperture lens at the front for collecting light, and they've got the same focal length of 700mm, so they're both f10. Let's get unboxing and we'll have a look. So yeah, a bit archaic with the CD-ROM. I don't think anyone's going to use that. So it does come with physical instructions by the looks of it. So that would tell you everything you need to know to set it up. In subsequent videos I will be comparing the two together, obviously, so this is just the initial setup. This one's the tripod, and because a lot of these will be bought by children, I'll probably get my kids involved and see which one they prefer out of the two telescopes. So with the Celestron, we've got kind of, well not kind of, it is, it's like a pan head that you twist to undo the tension and move it around, and then you can twist it to lock it off. So that's going to move. It's quite stiff on that axis, but there's should be a knob round there that you can lock it. There's a bit of play on that actually. So I'll undo that. So there's a bit of stiction to move it on azimuth, left and right. And altitude you can adjust by twisting this. So I can stiffen that up and lock it off. There's a Vixen dovetail saddle. And it's nice to see they've got a little bit of nylon on there so it doesn't mark the dovetail on the telescope. You can just clamp the telescope on there and then move it up and down for balance. Although the dovetail does look quite short, so maybe not. It will just simply be for clamping. You can look at the overall height. Okay, so I'm 5'11", and it comes up to the, well, it's hard to say. Let me look down at the camera. There you go. You can see my belly. Comes to there. Let me measure it. Actually, I'll grab a tape measure. 45 inches, which is 114 centimeters. All telescopes will come with this warning sign not to point the telescope at the sun. You need correct filtration on the front for that. Always get advice on that. You need a proper solar filter on the front. Plastic cap just pulls off. Let's see if I can get this in the light to show you. So that it's a crown and flint achromatic refractor, coated optics. You can see some purple coatings on there. Nice. And the focuser is a 1.25 inch rack and pinion. That feels fine as well. what you expect really. Works smooth enough, but it's single speed. Good enough to do the job. Let's pop it on the mount. See how it all moves about. And then we'll grab the other telescope and have a look. Oh, I've got the accessories to do first. And the finder scope, we'll add that. So the idea is you turn that and you can just move it around the sky. We'll see how that works in practice on like the moon and Jupiter or whatnot stars. Right, there's another box in here which must have the accessories in. What we got then? We have come with bolt cases, that's quite nice. Got a 10mm with a 700mm focal length telescope. That's going to give 70 times magnification. We have a 20mm, which is going to give 35 times magnification. And we've got a star diagonal. Hopefully it's going to be a mirror rather than a prism, because they are better for astronomy at this price point, the mirrored ones. And it is. It's a mirror diagonal, so that's good. The very budget prism diagonals aren't very good, so I'm glad that it's got a mirror diagonal. And then we've got the red dot finder. So to activate the red dot finder, there's a little tab that you pull out, and there's a button battery that now connects inside there. And then we can turn it on. And I can see, I don't know if you can see that. There you go, you can see it now. The red dot. And that's dimmable by turning that variable resistor. Cool, let's turn it off for now. There we go, and tighten that off a little bit. All we have to do now is, I'd always start with the low power eyepiece, so we'll get the 20mm and we'll pop that into the diagonal. Oop, thumb screws are tight. Oh crikey. There we go. Do that bad boy. Pop it in. Tweak it a little bit. Cap off the other end that goes into the focuser. And then that slides in there like so, and then just does up with the thumb screws. Honestly, it's just as easy as that with these telescopes. So pop the optical tube on the saddle and just pop the diagonal and the eyepiece in and slide on the red dot finder. And then you just have to line up the red dot finder with the main telescope on something like a TV aerial, making sure not to point it anywhere near the sun. And then you can just move, you can move this left and right using this wheel and this one underneath there. And that controls it kind of moving up, down and left and right, so you can line it up with the main telescope. And then you just focus on objects by racking in and out with the focuser. Cool, that's one done. Let's go and have a look at the Sky-Watcher next. I'll put this out of the way. Actually, is there a tray that locks off the... There might be a tray that locks off the tripod spreader there. Let's have a look. So that just goes on like so, and then twists around. Locks in place like that. You can put your eyepieces and stuff on there, and it adds a little bit of rigidity to the tripod. Okay, the Celestron boxes are cleared out of the way, so onto the Sky-Watcher Mercury 707. This comes in a slightly larger box than the Celestron. Probably grab some quick pics of the moon. I'll put my ZWO planetary camera on it, on both of these telescopes, and try and grab some pictures of the moon during the comparison. Sky-Watcher, I've skipped the early 2000s CD-ROM, which is for the best, I feel. Telescope user guide. I'll just flick through that, and then you can pause it if you want. Don't know if you'll be able to read the writing. I'm only recording in 1080p, but plenty of information in there. And this is probably a catalogue showing some other telescopes in the range. And the usual Sky-Watcher instruction manual for refractors, reflectors and out-azimuth mounts. So that'll run through what the deal is with all that. As with Celestron, they've got some calculations for field of view, magnification, exit pupil, how to set up your finder scope, collimating and Newtonian, which doesn't apply here because we're using a refractor. Let's get to the boxes. Have I got the tripod first? I don't think so. That's a longer box. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a very different tripod to the Celestron. They're both aluminium, but this is box section aluminium, whilst the Celestron over there has got like round. Is this aluminium or steel? Actually thinking about it, I'm not entirely sure. It might be steel, you know, just very thin steel. I'm not sure. It seems quite polished to be aluminium. This is aluminium for sure. Very different styles, and the heads are very different as well. Like the Celestron's got like a pan head, like you get on a photographic tripod. This is a yoke mount, which is a very basic, affordable type of out-azimuth mount for astronomy. One of the main reasons for comparing these two is not the optics, because they're going to be similar, but it's the actual mounts, because this is the type of mount I had when I was 7 years old, and it put me off astronomy for a while. So part of this is to check myself 40 years later that I'm still giving good advice. I do steer people more towards the tabletop Dobsonians in this price bracket, and so part of this is literally just checking that that's the right thing to do, because some people do want a telescope that looks like a traditional telescope. So which out of these is going to be better, the photographic tripod pan head style or the yoke mount? we'll find out because I'll be doing some testing. Ooh, literally just knocked my laptop off. Let's extend the tripod, get it set up, measure the full height. Ooh. I don't like the spreader as much on this one because it kind of goes both ways. The other one kind of locked out and just sat in a nice position. Celestron wins on that one. That feels like it's taller. So that's about 5 inches taller because that sits at 50 inches or 128 centimeters. And just to recap, if I can hurdle over all this, what are we here? We're about 45-ish, 45 inches, which is about 115 centimeters. So the Sky-Watcher is a bit taller. The thing is though, it just depends on where in the sky you're looking at something, because with a refractor, when you're looking at something high in the sky, the eyepiece is going to drop down lower. If I can get it to do it like that. So a lot of the time you're in kind of a seated position and looking down through the eyepiece at the thing up in the sky. So what I'm saying here, it doesn't really about the height of the tripod is only very partially important, I think. Right, what's next? I apologise if all this moving around is making people feel a bit seasick. This is the most rustic video I've ever done, I think. Oh, that is my kids coming back, I think. I did want to try and... The reason I'm doing this so rushed without taking loads of takes is because I wanted to get it done before my kids got back from swimming, because the whole of the living room is full of stuff and I've got 3 kids to fit in here and my wife. Let's see how they react when they come in. Alright. So again, we've got the warning about not looking at the sun through the telescope. You need a special filter for that. The black diamond livery is sparkly. You can see loads of sparkles in that. It's not just black. So you've got some information about the telescope on the side. Both of these are made in the same factory actually, Sinter factory in China. It just tells you the diameter of the objective lens and the focal length there. So if you divide 700 by 10, that gives you the f10, which is a nice relaxed focal length. The light isn't being bent too steeply, which means it's going to be better corrected than a shorter telescope at this aperture, because the light's not having to bend so much. It's going to be less chromatic aberration. Hold on, let them in. Yeah, right. So I was trying to get this done before you guys got back.
Well, you haven't.
No, it looks a bit like he has.
Looks a bit like he hasn't, though.
I'm nearly there.
There's like 2 scary tripods.
Scary tripods.
Oh, I didn't even notice that one.
Tripods are always scary.
It's like
Box!
Oh, can I get... Why is there telescopes invading?
it is pretty much telescope invasion, just like
yeah.
a bit like War of the Worlds. Anyway, in order to connect this telescope tube to the mount, I think I'm going to have to delve into the accessories over here. So let's put this down for a sec. Have a look in this box. This magnifies 6 times and it's got a lens that's 24 mils in diameter, but even that's stopped down. If you can see down there, the lens itself is only about 15 mil across. It's been stopped down. It's like a plastic ring inside there. That's a very cheap optical finder, but then again the total price of this is £119, so what can you expect? this is the rod that controls the elevation, the altitude of the telescope. It fits in like so. Oh, the star diagonal looks better than the Celestron. Hold on, maybe it's a prism diagonal. I'm not going to speak too soon. Is it a star diagonal or prism diagonal? Yes. Oh, that is much better. That is the one with the Celestron felt a little bit undersized, but this one feels like a full-size 1.25 inch mirror diagonal. In fact, let me just compare the two. If I take this out, so you can see the Celestron is on the right and the Sky-Watcher is on the left. The Sky-Watcher feels physically bigger, even though they're both got 1.25 inch barrels. Let's put that back on now anyway. So we have the classic Sky-Watcher thing with beginner telescopes where you get the Super 25. I'll give 28 times magnification with the telescope. And then you've got your Super 10, which will give 70. And then this one includes a Barlow lens, which will double the magnification of both those eyepieces before you. So it will turn the one that gives 28 times magnification, no, it will turn the one that gives 28 times magnification into 56 times, and the one that gives 70 times magnification into 140, which is a 70mm refractor's theoretical maximum magnification, which is double the aperture in millimeters. That feels quite plasticky though, so I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. We'll find out. Not dissing it, the money can only stretch so far, but where do you draw the line? Because if you're new to the hobby, how much do you spend to test the water? You've got to spend enough that you're going to get something good enough that it's not going to put you off. But if you spend too much and you're not into it, then you've got to try and sell it for a loss. So it's a fine line really. Pretty straightforward. Now, left to its own devices, that will just flop up and down. So that's where this rod comes in. And this attaches to there and goes through here, like that. Move that down like that. And just trying to show this on camera at the same time so you can see what's going on. That threads through there. And then you can move it up and down and lock off that screw, and it will lock it in position. And then this turns and you can move fine adjustment up and down with that to a certain degree anyway. You'll reach a point where it can go no further, and therefore you'd have to go back to here and then adjust it again. See how much travel that's got on there. That's important to see. Quite a bit of travel actually. It's a bit wobbly though. If you undo it all the way, it does make it a bit wobbly. Get those a bit tighter. That's better. That's not too bad actually. It's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be, based on memory. But we'll see in practice. Oh, children. I won't be long, I'm nearly done. They're just staring at me now. Okay, so let's pop the star diagonal in there and an eyepiece. So is it okay if I get you to, if it's clear later, is it okay if you have a look through the telescopes?
Yes, so.
Well, that's the spirit.
I don't have a spirit.
Don't you?
I don't.
Is it broken? Okay. Yeah, so I always start with the low power eyepiece. So pop that in there. Okay. Now this finder is different. It's got bolts sticking out the tube with nuts, and then you just slide on the finder scope. And this one's an optical finder scope, and the other one's a red dot. Now, at this kind of price level, I much prefer a red dot finder personally. So that's what it looks like when it's set up. We've got the finder. As mentioned on the Celestron, you'd have to align this with a main optical tube, point it at a chimney or the moon or something, line them both up, and it's got these adjustments here to allow that. And then to focus, you just move the focuser in and out. It's another rack and pinion, pretty much identical to the Celestron in that respect. This one's got a lock on it where you can lock the focuser. So I think that's going to come in too handy on this. It's got enough stiction to stay where you put it anyway, but it's there if you need it. Has a Celestron got that? No. They both feel pretty much the same. This feels nicer to touch because the Celestron feels nicer to touch because it's got rubber. It's a bit more tactile. This is hard plastic. Both fundamentally the same kind of focus, are they? Optics are likely going to be very similar. They're off the same production line, in fact. If I tighten it up and then try and wobble it, and then we'll do the same with the Celestron. I think this might feel a slight bit better, but neither of them is quite as bad as I'd built them up in my head over the last 40 years, but I still think a Dobsonian is much more stable. But I think the proof is going to be in the pudding when we get these out under the stars. Right, we're going to need to put a tripod plate on there. That might be why that feels more wobbly. Where is the tripod plate? How do I lose these things? Ah, here we go. Found it. Right, the Sky-Watcher one is a bit more of a pain in that you've got these 3 wing nuts. Okay, that took about 2 minutes and it was really fiddly and annoying. The Celestron one took a few seconds, so Celestron wins on that one. Let's put them next to each other so we can see them side by side. Okay, so the Sky-Watcher stands a bit taller. The tripod is spread out a bit more than the Celestron by the looks of it. That figures as it's taller, and optical tubes look about the same. So we'll see how they work in practice with adults and children, see what I prefer, see what my kids prefer, and hopefully it enables people to make a decision if they don't want a tabletop Dobsonian, which is what I usually recommend in this price bracket, if they've not got a garden table, or they just prefer a more classic looking telescope that's tripod mounted, which one should you go for out of the Celestron Astromaster LT70 or the Sky-Watcher Mercury 707? Okay, so I'll join you in the next video for that one. Catch you later.